Good evening, and thank you for being with us. We want to begin tonight with breaking news about America's national security and the warnings from the FBI to local, state, and federal law enforcement about the possibility of terror attacks right here in the homeland. CBS News got a look at a new joint bulletin that warns groups like al-Qaeda and ISIS will likely use the Israel-Hamas war to increase calls for violence in the U.S. this holiday season. This bulletin right here says that the most likely primary targets could include churches, synagogues, and members of the Jewish community. Now, today, the FBI director was telling senators that the U.S. is facing the highest risk of attack in years, that there are blinking lights everywhere, and warning terrorists will exploit the southern border. The head of the FBI says the Bureau is working to identify and disrupt these potential attacks, with foreign terrorist groups openly calling for strikes against Americans. He also said that the number of threats are at a whole other level since the October 7th attack on Israel. CBS's Catherine Herridge has reviewed this new bulletin. She's got the new details. Good evening, Catherine.
Good evening, Norah. The intelligence chatter is almost always elevated during the holidays, but this year government analysts expect heightened rhetoric, with terrorist groups and their media outlets latching on to the conflict.
With the Israeli military bearing down on southern Gaza and Hanukkah only days away, the new intelligence report reviewed by CBS News warns of increased threats from foreign terrorist groups and mirrors FBI Director Christopher Wray's testimony today on Capitol Hill.
Blinking red lights analogy about 9/11, all the lights were blinking red before 9/11. Would you say that there's multiple blinking red lights out there?
I see blinking lights everywhere I turn.
In stark language, the intelligence report predicts ISIS and al-Qaeda will likely use the Middle East conflict to increase calls for violence in the U.S. this holiday season compared to prior years, as new details emerge about an alleged plot to attack Las Vegas.
We charged the suspect with multiple felonies to include terroristic threats.
Authorities arrested a 16-year-old suspect who allegedly wrote on social media about launching a lone wolf attack in support of ISIS. A homemade flag and other articles allegedly recovered along with bomb parts. On Capitol Hill, a stark warning from the FBI chief.
I've never seen a time where all the threats, or so many of the threats, are all elevated, all at exactly the same time.
With the spike in threats since the war began, the intelligence report warns civilian casualties in Gaza, whether real, perceived, or falsified, or the increased presence of U.S. military forces in direct support of Israel will likely be exploited by terrorist groups.
Wray said there's nothing to indicate Hamas has the intent or capability to conduct operations inside the U.S., but the Bureau has not discounted the possibility, Norah.
And they're worried about these lone wolves. All right.
Correct.
Catherine Herridge, thank you.